live with our live special coverage of the Democratic National Convention 2020, night two, offering our takes. I am joined today by the executive director of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party and my very good friend, Drexel Hurd. Welcome, Drexel.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. And
Thank
Alex, congratulations on this new venture. You have been killing it. I'm so excited for you, and I know that the HAPS team could not have found a better person to help launch what they have been doing over these past few weeks. So, congratulations to you.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm sure that Pablo and the HAPS team that are watching this right now offer their thanks as well. So, appreciate that. You are watching on HAPS News, and we are offering you our reactions on the Democratic National Convention, night two. We are now officially halfway through the Democratic National Convention, and tonight was another star-studded night. Joe Biden has, of course, officially accepted the Democratic Party's nomination for President of the United States. And tonight was interesting because, Drexel, you know that you've seen many conventions in your life. And this is a very unconventional convention because it's all virtual. So this normal procedural roll call that happened tonight, where all the states offer up their delegates to the respective candidates from the Democratic primary who won in those states. It was done virtually, and I thought that it was very interesting, and I was wondering on your take about this. Going through the different states, we had a few notable people. Fred Gutenberg, who from Florida offered up his delegates, and he is, of course, the father of slain student at Parkland, who, sorry, I believe it was Sandy Hook. And so that was a really moving choice. We had Matthew Shepard's parents in Wyoming talking about LGBTQ rights, and it seemed like a real opportunity to reflect the diversity in the Democratic Party and to really go over the entire spectrum. What did you think of the roll call, and did you think it was effective? A lot of people were saying it was the emotional part of the night for them.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It did embody the diversity of our party. And I actually enjoyed it. I texted a few friends through that roll call and said, I actually kind of like this. As you know, normally they are shouting in a convention hall and trying to make their voice heard for their state. In this case, we got not only a chance to hear them clearly, speak clearly, not only about their votes for Senator Sanders, but their enthusiasm for Joe Biden, but we also got to see their states. We also got to see parts of their states and parts of the country that many people may or may not get to see. I think, in South Carolina, we saw Jamie Harrison, who's running against Lindsey Graham. So we've got to make sure that he wins his Senate seat. Here in California, we got a chance to see Barbara Lee and Secretary Solis, who I was just with today, talking about at a press conference and making sure that Americans won't have their vote disenfranchised by this administration with the USPS. So, we got a chance to see so many extraordinary faces from across the country, and I think that the DNC and whoever produced it knocked it out of the park with this roll call vote because, like you said, it is unconventional. And, like I said, love to hear it loud and clear. And I love to see so many diverse faces. I saw more black faces in places across this country through that roll call vote than I think we've ever seen in a roll call vote, and that was equally as exciting. A lot of young faces, and that has a lot to do with the direction that this country is leading. Young leaders like you and myself, and those who are a part of the grassroots organizations, a part of the party. We're going to continue to lead, and I think that's what you saw tonight, and that's what kicked off tonight's program as well. Up and comers and rising stars in our party as well.
Absolutely. And God love you for calling me a young leader. Well, we have a lot of comments coming in. A lot of people are commenting on kind of missing the big, massive spectacle of it, of this event, which is, of course, usually lots of big crowds and cheering and balloons. What do you think of this new format? And do you think that I think there are probably some pros and cons. For me, I like the effect of having some of these folks speaking to us directly in a way that's much more intimate. But do we lose something without the massive fanfare that we've had in years past for this convention?
Are you saying you didn't like the streamers and the balloons that Joe Biden got in that classroom? Is that
Uh,
what you're saying?
um,
No, look, No, look, I think there is an intimacy thing to these virtual events. And I think a lot of the messages, a lot of recorded messages, people are able to emote a little bit more. And we saw that last night with Michelle Obama. I think if you're in a convention hall, she would have been, I know we're going to talk about Michelle Obama, she would have been interrupted multiple times during that week. And I think she was able to emote exactly how America was feeling through the screen. And I think that is something that we're getting in this convention. Because I do think that through all the pomp and circumstance of a normal convention, you do miss a lot of the speeches because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of commentary happening during speeches. There's a lot of distractions happening during speeches. And so in this case, America, and especially at a time right now, is hearing about Vice President Biden, and tomorrow we're going to hear more about Senator Harris. Even though we live here in California, we know exactly who she is, but America needs to hear it, and America needs to hear it clearly because we're going into the next 70 something days where America needs to vote clearly. And I think that a convention like this, it could not come at a more perfect time.
Yes, and the convention tonight touched on a lot of topics. We do have a comment from Brett Walker. He asked, "What did you all feel about the healthcare roundtable portion?" I feel like it was really effective compared to other parts. I also thought it was really moving, and to have Adi Barkan talking to us about his support of Joe Biden, really powerful stuff, and it really highlights the contrast between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party right now. What did you think about the healthcare portion of the evening?
I think a lot of these roundtable discussions that the vice president's having are really important. Tonight, I know they touched on the effects that COVID-19 has had on our nation last night, but it's a continued conversation that we are going to have to continue to have. I know a lot of my friends support Medicare for all, and I think that this particular pandemic has shifted a lot of minds away from a traditional employer-based healthcare because you can't have healthcare if you don't have a job in that case. And in this case, we're starting to have those hard conversations to make sure that every American has the healthcare they need, and that's starting with the vice president who's able, I mean, a Vice President Biden and a president who's able to listen and respond accordingly and not leave people out. And so I think that that is what you saw, and what you saw tonight is what you're going to continue to see in a Biden-Harris administration.
Absolutely. And with that, we had some great big names tonight who spoke. We heard from some Democratic notables, like, of course, former President Bill Clinton, who gave, I guess you would call it the night's keynote address. But because the format is just 2 hours now, instead of like 10 hours of live coverage, the way that the conventions are usually formatted, it's a lot shorter. And there was some criticism that AOC, who did speak tonight, was only allotted a minute or two. But I think that was due in large part to the format of the way this convention is set up this year. We heard from AOC. She gave a 2-minute speech. Now, there's some criticism already happening online, and I'd love to pick your brain about this, Drexel, about AOC. She's getting a lot of criticism because it appeared in her speech that she was seconding the nomination for Bernie Sanders and not Joe Biden. But that's, I guess, is not an accurate representation of what happened because she was doing a procedural, she was taking a procedural moment in the lineup and was asked to do that and to second the nomination. This is just a procedural part of the nominating process. So did you think that this backlash is a little bit overblown? And what did you think of AOC's speech? Because I think she is probably one of the future leaders of the Democratic Party.
Look, there's a lot of noise, and I think that AOC did exactly what she was asked to do. It was a formality in the lineup, in the roll call. I had friends text me asking me what the roll call was. So there's a lot of people who may or may not understand the roll call procedure in a normal convention. There's still business that has to be conducted by delegates in the DNC. In this case, if there are two names on the ballot, somebody has to nominate a candidate, and someone has to second it. That is procedure not only at the DNC, but in any legislative body or any body where nominations have to be seconded. So in this case, Bob King from the United Auto Workers nominated Senator Sanders, and AOC brought up the rear with the second, and that's exactly what she was supposed to do. But at the end of the day, like I said, there were so many other names of young leaders across the country. Here in California, we had Robert Garcia, our Long Beach mayor, just here in Los Angeles County, a part of that keynote speech at the beginning. We also saw Counter Land, who we remember from the 2018 election, as well as my parents are from Birmingham. So we got a chance to see Randall Wolfen, who's the first progressive and the youngest black mayor in Birmingham. So AOC is not just the only young Democrat in America who's doing great work, and we're starting to see that, like I said, all across the nation, and that's what we saw in that keynote as well.
Yes, absolutely. We also heard tonight from former Secretary of State John Kerry, and the 2004 Democratic nominee for President of the United States. He gave a very forceful speech tonight. A couple of notable quotes. When this president goes overseas, it isn't a mission, it's a blue pill. Discussed the Russian bounty on American troops and how the president has failed to do anything or take action about it. And he did say this is a fight for the security of the country and indeed the world. Did you appreciate hearing from John Kerry, or did you feel like maybe this is the old guard and maybe it's time to make way for some newer, more progressive voices?
Well, look, I think that anytime that we're talking about national security, you certainly want to have folks who understand um, what foreign policy means around the world, what America's stance means around the world, and of course, what our national security, what is at stake in our national security. This president is certainly a national security risk. We've known that since day one. We knew that before day one, and so John Kerry kind of started the night of national security. People from national security, all parts of our government, including former Secretary of State Colin Powell, former Joint Chiefs of Staff Colin Powell, and so many other national security personnel who have been a part of administrations. And so I think it's very important to remember that Joe Biden was chosen as Barack Obama's running mate because of his foreign policy experience. So this is no surprise that somebody like John Kerry would come in, especially a former presidential nominee and a former senator, a former friend of Joe Biden, a former Secretary of State, who would come in to talk plainly about what is at stake in terms of our nation's foreign policy.
Yes, and we do have a comment from Brett Walker. Kerry and Powell speaking certainly provided a stark contrast to Trump's ... whatever he does, and I agree. And I'll note that there seems to be, Drexel, and I think you might agree, that there has been a noted theme over the last 2 days of this convention of bringing together people from all ends of the political spectrum. Last night we had Bernie Sanders. We also had a section of former Republican elected officials last night. Tonight, we had military leaders talking about the danger that Trump poses to national security. One of them said that Trump has had a love affair with dictators in China and Russia. And then, of course, as Brett and yourself have pointed out, Colin Powell, a noted Republican who served under the George W. Bush administration, spoke out on behalf of Joe Biden tonight. John McCain had a posthumous shout out, and what I thought was one of the more moving moments. We know that the McCain family plans to support Joe Biden. So it seems like, and also I'll just add a clip of John McCain giving the thumbs down to Obamacare repeal vote. And of course, he was the deciding vote that stops the Obamacare repeal before he passed away in 2017. So there's a running theme of bringing Republicans and Democrats together to rise above tribalism and to face the real existential threats to the country. And the Biden campaign is really seeking to paint Donald Trump as that existential threat. So what do you think about this? Do you think that this is a wise strategy? Should this be an event that's meant to rile up the base more? Or do you think that this is an appropriate strategy from the Biden campaign?
I think it's a combination. I think you can appreciate both, right? Like I'm military dependent. My dad was a Marine for 33 years, and we moved all across the country and we moved all around the world. And so I know how important having so many diverse voices speak about this country can really resonate with voters. And yes, the base of our party is very important. But the base can only take you so far. If you look at Donald Trump's base, you're only capped at about 40%, maybe even that. And so, you got to be able to reach other parts of our nation. Yes, our nation is moving in a more progressive way, but we got to make sure that we're able to tap in to people who truly understand that healthcare is a right, that truly understand that Black Lives Matter, that truly understand that Black trans lives matter and LGBT rights matter and women's rights matter. But the only way that we're able to do that is to bring people to the table and make sure that they understand why we have set that table up in the first place for them. And so I think having those diverse Republican voices. I have a lot of Republican friends. I'm from North Carolina. A lot of my friends are from the South, and so those are the things that people want to hear. They don't want to hear the same condescending tones from parts of our party who may think that just because that you have a difference of opinion that you're wrong. In this case, we want to make sure that everybody's voice is heard, and we want to make sure they understand why our policies are the best for the country. And I think that that's what we're going to continue to hear tomorrow night, and then of course on Thursday night with Joe Biden.
Absolutely. And look, I think progressive policies are actually very popular policies when looked at
Right.
party affiliation from which the policies were born. These policies are very popular across all ranges of the political spectrum. Fortunately, we're in a very tribalistic time where we view our political adversaries as enemies rather than people that are on the opposing ends of a political disagreement. And I think what makes America distinctly great is being able to come to the table with distinctly different backgrounds and ideas and have ideas compete. The best rise to the top. And when we otherize our political adversaries and make them the monsters and evil and the bad guy, we're really never going to get anything done because compromise is required in democracy. So I personally, although I might not politically agree with some of the voices that were featured the last two nights, think it's very important for somebody at some point to start breaking this gridlock and offering a counterpoint to what is a very divided time. So,
Right.
and speaking of which, on a more personal note, we kind of closed the night out with a touching segment about Joe and Jill Biden and how they met and fall in love. And of course, Dr. Biden married Joe Biden after the tragic loss of his wife and children in a car accident. Did we like hearing from Dr. Biden? Do you think she adds something to the campaign?
First of all, I thought I texted friends. I texted friends during the video package segment, and I was like, "This is really cute." It was just a really cute segment because we didn't get a chance to see a lot of Dr. Biden through the 8 years of Barack Obama, but we knew that the friendship that her and Michelle had was true. That their focus on military families, I thought personally, was something that was very important to the conversation. She continued to teach. She continued to do the work, and I think that has been something that we have known about the Biden family for a very long time. That they are just, everyday American people doing everyday jobs, and they're willing to do it on behalf of the American people. And I think that that is something that Jill Biden will continue to bring to this campaign with Doug by her side and Kamala Harris's husband Doug. And so I think that she's gonna be kind of a sleeper, a secret weapon through the campaign to really truly make sure that America really understands the type of person that Joe Biden is. And I think we saw a little bit of that tonight. But I'm glad we got a chance to see a little bit more of Jill Biden in the classroom and her talking about, when she first met Bo and Hunter and how difficult it was, to make sure that she was the right person to be, kind of in their lives. And I think that that is truly where we are right now as a country. We need a president, and you saw last night what Michelle Obama said. We need a president who is right for our lives right now. That's not Donald Trump. And Jill Biden really encapsulated the fact that family is important, and that family always means unity. And that is what we're going to get with Joe Biden over the next few couple of months, and of course the next few years.
We do have a comment. I thought the story about Joe getting back to work after Bo's funeral really helped underscore the type of person he is. I think that's an excellent observation, and I think that's part of the reason why Joe Biden isn't Dr. Joe Biden is an asset. So,
Right, and you heard that from Michelle Obama last, or somebody said it last night, where she said Joe Biden has lived a life that a lot of us have lived, and that is true. Losing a parent, I lost my mom a decade ago. I know what it means to lose a loved one, and you got folks all over the country who are experiencing the same thing right now through this pandemic. And so I think that is exactly what the message is going to be, is that while we are going through this, that we're going to get through it, and that Joe Biden understands and empathizes, and that's a message that we heard a lot last night. That's a message that we heard a lot today with Sally Yates at the top of the program as well, and that's something that we're going to get over the next 77 days as well.
absolutely. And with that, we are halfway through the Democratic National Convention. Last night was the night one. I want to briefly discuss Michelle Obama, your thoughts on her, what I thought was a very historic speech, and also really unusual for lots of different reasons, because for people who have sat through conventions and this political process for many years, we know that there's a certain decorum, a certain style, a certain timbre and tenor that is exercised throughout these events. And for the former first lady to offer such a stunning and damning indictment of the sitting U.S. president, to openly criticize his character and impugn his integrity, to say that he is not the right choice for America, that he's in over his head, and of course that sort of zinger of "it is what it is," which is playing on a direct Trump vote, is responsible for virus deaths. What did you think of Michelle Obama's speech, and was it as historic and electric as I thought it was?
Listen, I agree with you. I definitely got emotional during Michelle Obama's speech because it reminded us of how good she actually is at really connecting with the American people, how good she was for 8 years. And so, I think that she hit what we saw in 2016 during the campaign was just a slight step up. I mean, it was slight. I mean, tonight, yesterday's speech was just a slight step up from what we saw, because she did hit Donald Trump a lot in the campaign. Her "when we go low, when they go low, we go high" moment was a defining moment. Not only in the 2016 campaign, but has resonated through the rest of these last 3 years. And so I think that Michelle Obama continues to be an effective communicator, like Barack Obama is. They make the ultimate team in terms of the ultimate communication team. And so I loved it. I thought she hit some really great points when she talked about. The fact that being a president reveals who you are, but electing a president reveals who we are as Americans. And I think that is something that Americans, when they go to the voting booth, are going to be thinking about in the back of their mind, because who are we? And what does that mean? How are you helping the next person? Is your vote does matter, not only here at the local level, here in LA County. We've got races all across. We got so many races, 200 applicants I got just in the past couple of weeks, who are seeking the LACDP endorsement. And so with races that you probably wouldn't even know about. So races matter, local races matter, and of course the top of the ticket is going to matter, because at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're helping thy neighbor, which is something that Republicans do not understand. And that's why night one was about we the people. And so I think that Michelle Obama's speech really encapsulated that piece of it, that we the people are the people who are going to take care of each other, and we have to do that starting with our vote this November.
And I thought she made a really good point when she was talking about 2016. She was talking about how Democrats won the national popular vote by nearly 3 million votes, and that Donald Trump is still president today. And that's because in 3 swing states, 77,000 votes in 3 swing states decided the Electoral College for him. And she broke it down like this. She said, when you do the math, that comes down to about 2 to 3 votes per precinct. And if those 2 to 3 people per voting precinct who felt like maybe their vote doesn't matter, or who felt maybe disenfranchised by the process, or felt like their candidate wasn't in, and that the candidate that was up was going to win anyway, if they had shown up knowing what we know now, that we would be in a different place. So she was really encouraging people to crawl over fire and brimstone, strap on a mask, and get to your polling location and vote in November.
Everything.
Yes, and we are facing a crisis with the vote by mail protocols and procedures in the states because of the attack on the U.S. Postal Service by the new Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, a Trump administration appointee. So she's really saying you need to register to vote now, request your vote by mail ballots now, and if you can't vote by mail, show up to the ballot box on election day with that mask on and do what you have to. Bring 2 pairs of shoes and 2 lunches and a dinner. It was really moving, and the urgency of the moment I thought was very appropriate and something that needed to be discussed. So I appreciated that. Looking forward, we've got 2 more nights. Tomorrow night, as I like to call it, the female power player night of the DNC. Elizabeth Warren, we've got Hillary Clinton, we've got Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Who are you looking forward to the most in the coming days? And what do you think about the next half of the DNC?
Well, look, today is the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, so I'm always excited to see so many women take the stage. I'm, of course, excited to see our Senator Kamala Harris accept the nomination for Vice President tomorrow night, and I think she's going to give a fiery speech, just as fiery as she is as a U.S. Senator. Everything that we know about Kamala Harris, I think we're going to get that. And then some, and so I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, I'm looking forward to seeing Hillary Clinton be back on our TV screens tomorrow night as well, and so many other great women, who are really leading our nation. Tonight we saw Stacey Abrams. And Monday night we saw Gwen Moore. There are so many women who make up the backbone of our country. They represent 51% of our nation. So tomorrow night's going to be all about the empowerment of women and making sure that our nation knows that not only can a Black, Asian American, Indian American woman be vice president, but she certainly can be president as well.
Thank you so much, Drexel Hurd, for joining us tonight. Drexel is the executive director of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, and he's a friend. Drexel, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
You can find me at Drexel Hurd on all platforms.
Fantastic. This has been a very special edition of the AM Report for HAPS News and our special live coverage of the Democratic National Convention. If you like this broadcast, please support this journalism and sponsor this journalism. You can visit it at haps.tv/@Alex Mohajer. We are live every morning at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time for your quick 10-minute breakdown of the morning's news and political headlines. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Thank you, Drexel.
Hi, guys. Thanks, Alex. Congratulations again.
Thank you.